Hi everybody, welcome to another Thursday tip and trick with me, Deb Tucker, here at my studio, Studio 180 Design. And the focus of today's lesson is going to be becoming a block detective. What does that mean? Basically, it means looking at blocks, identifying the basic shapes, the basic elements that are involved in the making of those blocks, and it's an important skill to have in your bag of tricks. It's a skill that you'll need if you ever decide you want to design quilts. It's a skill that you'll need if you want to have choices for how you construct blocks, and it's also an important skill to have if you want to change the sizes of your blocks. So let's get started. We have some simple blocks up here, and we are going to go ahead and talk about them and break them down to their basic elements. This first one up here, super simple to identify. You can see that I don't even know the name of it. Probably has a name out there, but it's basically three different shapes. It's plain squares. It is two different sizes in the corner and a different size in the middle. Rectangles, that's two shapes. And it's a square that's made up of the triangles that I call an hourglass unit. Super simple to identify those. And I don't think anybody has any problem with that one. This one has a little bit more of a challenge to it. The corners are easy. They're squares made with half square triangles. Flying geese are in the north, south, and the east and west have those flying geese units. But in the center, because we have a unit that I call a combination unit. It's a combination unit because it's a combination of two quarter square triangles and one half square triangle. And it's the color placement that gives you that swath of color out there. I can see that there's a seam right there, and if you saw a line drawing, you'd probably be able to see a seam the seam that's right there. But sometimes the color will obliterate the ability to see that seam. These are all flying geese. Super simple to see that one. Okay, enough said. This block, even though it looks pretty challenging, let's take a look at the basic elements that are involved here. The basic building blocks. Corners, again, are simple. Half square triangles, the same as the one that we looked at right here. In the center, we have hourglass units. Those are the north, south, east, and west, same hourglass units that you see right there. We have flying geese units. They're the same as the flying geese units that are in here, same as the flying geese units that are in here. And the only shape that's new in here from the other three blocks is the shape that is a rectangle with a pop of color on it. And we've got one here and one here. I think you can probably see those. I'll block one out so you can kind of see where it is. It's a rectangle with a pop of color on it right there. So what looks complicated is no more difficult than making this shape, no more complicated than making this shape, no more complicated than making this shape. So that's our first round of blocks. Pretty easy. Sometimes you really have to read between the lines. This is a block I designed a good number of years ago, and it's never gone into a quilt, but it might someday. You can tell I love flying geese. A lot of my blocks have flying geese, and they're easily identified. You have flying geese that are around the outside edges. Super simple. The top part of the basket is actually made with those half square triangles again, and you can see those simply when I block them out right there. It's just two half square triangles put together to make a square. Most people would want to put a seam going this way, but I didn't do that because I didn't want to make four individual blocks. So what I did, the feet of the basket are actually more flying geese, and I'm going to mask them out so you can take a look at them. They're flying geese that, because they're positioned the way they are with the black up against the base of the basket, it looks like a basket. So reading between the lines allows me to make these quicker and easier and without seams that would need to be matched. So someday that'll become a quilt. Let's take a look at these blocks here. Super simple block, simple shapes. This we call half square triangles. In the center, we have one of the, what I call a square squared unit. It's a square set on point inside of another square. And on the north and south and east and west, I have a unit that I call a V block. Now, they might be called different names in different places, but basically it's a square that has seams that go corner to center and corner to center. It's simple to easy to see those shapes there. But I want you to take a look at how one change in one unit can give you a more interesting and complex looking block. This one also has those V-block units. It has the square unit that's in the middle, but instead of a simple half square triangle, I've replaced it with a more complex looking square made with my Lemoyne star. So again, you want to design? This is the way you do it, by putting different shapes in there. And this is another interesting look. When you look at this block, it has that V-block shape in it, but you can't hardly see it. Now I'm going to kind of reveal the mystery here. This shape that's right here starts as a V-block, and then once that is made, that V-block receives two pops of color right there. And that's the shape that you see right in there like that. Again, you want to design, you can take basic shapes and you can add a pop of color and create some really interesting, more challenging looking designs in your future quilting projects. All right, now I'm going to show you these next two. These two are actually made with virtually the same units. We'll get that one up there. Turn around, we'll get this one up here. And they look very different. Of course, they're different colors, but they look very different one to the next. But let's take a look at what we've got. In the corner of this block and in the corner of this block, we have exactly the same building block. And that building block is the shaded 4-patch. Easy to see there. It consists of small square, 2 small triangles, and a large triangle. That's exactly the shape that we have up there as well. Now, there are lots of different ways to make shaded 4-patch. If you really want to see the best way, take a look at my online videos. But we've got shaded 4-patches in the corners of both blocks. On the north and south, east and west, we have flying geese that are stacked to give you that chevron look. And it's just a flying goose unit on top of a flying goose unit on both instances, but the blocks look very different because of the simple change of an element in the middle. This block has a squared unit in the middle. This block gives you that pinwheel look because I've replaced that with a series of half square triangle squares that give you that look of a pinwheel around the center. So again, blocks can be made with many of the same shapes. Coloring them differently and arranging fabrics will give you some really interesting end results. These are 2 blocks. I'm going to put both of them up here at the same time. And let's see if you can identify some similar shapes in these guys. This one, if you look in the corner, we have a shape that I call the corner beam. Let me talk about that for just a minute. You know, I'm naming off these shapes one right after the other. These are names that I've given to these shapes. And if you want to see the name of these shapes, you might want to go to our website and print off from our free download page, our free unit guide summary, I guess is what it is. A free unit guide. And it's about 5 pages, and it gives you drawings of a bunch of the different shapes and the names that we call them and the tools or techniques that were associated with it. So if I look at the corner, both of these have a lot of corner beams in them. If I look at this corner, I see corner beam shape. If I look at this corner, I see corner beam shapes. And when I look here, I see again. So I've got one size here, a different size here, and a different size here, but they're all the same building block. On this one, beside and below, I have again the shaded 4-patch. That's the shaded 4-patch that I just talked about a minute or so ago. We'll keep going on this one. Here we have half square triangles. Super simple to make. The center has a squared unit in the center. And instead of that V-block shape that you see right here, this is actually made with a diamond rectangle shape. It's a rectangle that has a diamond in it. And that eliminates the seam going in that direction. So I have less bulk when I'm putting the piece together. So that's how we make this block. When you look at this block, it's got the corner beams again, here and here. The center is a simple square rather than a squared unit. But on the north and south, east and west, what we have are flying geese units again, here and here. But those flying geese units are masked. They look very like a long, odd-shaped triangle there, but it's simply a flying goose unit with a V-block unit sitting on top. So you can see the flying goose unit there, you can see the V-block unit there, but it looks like that long, skinny triangle. So this is what actually called summer solstice. It doesn't look like summertime, but it's in our pattern. And this is a good skill. If you've never done this, it's something you should become better at. It will allow you to take your blocks and change them, change the color, change the process on how they're made, and it will also allow you to tuckerize your future projects. Now, what does that mean? Well, that's for another story. That's for another day. And if you tune in next week, we'll talk about tuckerizing blocks, or how you take directions and use our tools that go along with them. So I hope you have fun with this. Challenge your friends. You send them a block, have them send you a block. A photo will be just fine, and see if you can figure out the basic shapes. The better you become at this, the better you're going to be at being a block detective. Good luck to everybody. I'll see you in a week. Be well, be safe, be productive, and be creative. Take care, everybody.